You're live. You're live. You might be live. You hope you're live. Why is your hat crooked? Okay. Um. So this new trend of videos came out, and so I'm just bandwagoning on, hopping on that old train. Don't care, because most of my viewers aren't that interested in kilts. I already know that. So the kind of morbid version of the minimalist declutter aesthetic or whatever cropped up recently of, what if you lost your entire wardrobe in, a catastrophe or something. Or it doesn't even have to be that catastrophe. It could be a more real situation, like you just gained a bunch of weight, right? What are the 7 items you would immediately replace? Well, obviously most of these will be practical items for most people. I completely forgot to go and grab my hiking sandals out of the other room that I've had for years and I don't even hardly wear, right? Why? Because it's summer. This is the worst time to try and think of this video because it's, 100-degree weather. But I do have alternately the not so great example of ancient Birkenstocks that have had the corks replaced once and the soles replaced twice, I think, the outsoles. I don't really want to, well, they're not as terrible looking on camera as they could be, I guess. But okay, so in high school, I've said this in videos like a year ago already that not very many people have watched, and I did some other capsule wardrobe videos more recently talking about why it's not the same for men as it is for women. I think a woman first did this trend and now men have picked up on it. So once again, it's not exactly the same thing. So like I said, a year ago in high school, I basically had a capsule wardrobe because even though, I kind of liked the prep school thing with the sweater and the tie and the most of people in the suburbs, their parents were not sending them to classroom in a business suit for all, practical purposes or whatever. It was, basically a t-shirt like this kind of thing, OP or surfers or whatever, and jeans, 501 jeans for most of us. And I'm still going to be wearing this week. The shirt's not from high school, but it's, again, it's summer. Do I wear this year round? No. And then in high school, of course, I would have gladly said, make my entire wardrobe this, that, maybe the jeans, pair of Converse or Vans sneakers, which I do have them still now. Also, I've done those videos, but I don't wear them daily anymore. But then in winter or shorts, board shorts, or they weren't called board shorts yet then. They were called jams or whatever, and they weren't necessarily nylon because swim trunks were nylon and the shorts were usually cotton. But this being, kind of the nautical phase or whatever, in the autumn, I will be less blue and less sailor hats. So one of the items the guy didn't mention was hats. Obviously, a hat like this is not as practical as some, although a flat cap in, the winter is maybe arguably a little more, like this is a kind of a heavy fabric for summer. There are lighter versions of this, but the brim doesn't cover as much of your face as you'd like. So for most of us, the baseball hat, right? Semi-disposable. This one in terrible condition because it's been sweated through a lot, but also, if you can kind of see it, it's also a very lightweight see-through deal, which is why I wear this one a lot more often in summer than a real wool major league authentic one. Because again, that's kind of the same thing as putting on this instead of this. Better in January, okay? But again, would this be my go-to hat? Would this be the hat I would buy first If I had to replace a hat, no, it would be something with a wide brim. This one also being in fairly horrible condition because I've gone hiking in this a lot in the last 10 or 12 years or whatever, but it's just a mesh Duluth one. Would I want this in January? No, I'd want a felt one. Again, the Indiana Jones one, or maybe even something with a wider brim than Indy. This one has a 3.5 or 4-inch brim or something. I forget. You can see it's not a standard 2.5 stingy brim or whatever. Okay, hat. But right now I'm holding it in blue because, again, we're in the kind of nautical color scheme along with the cargo shorts, right? Are these attractive or stylish or anything? No, but they are 100% practical for this time of year. Would I want most of my wardrobe to be this right now? Yes. Most of the time, no. And I'll talk about this belt in a minute. Don't worry. One of the items was a belt. But instead of shorts, then obviously the next choice would be the pleated chino pants or unpleated perhaps. Instead of Levi's or other jeans, I would definitely want this for most of the year. Lighter weight, more soft fabric. Again, depends on what kind of job you have. This might not be practical at your job. The belt loops, though, as I was going to talk about the belts, sometimes these come too narrow to fit a jeans belt. So, yes, I would want to have a jeans belt in black or brown, or even this kind of cool one that I have in blue that, again, goes better with a blue thing than maybe with some other things. But the problem is jeans belts won't always fit with your chinos or your khakis. And then like this one, I wouldn't know where to buy this now because I think I got this actually at Target many years ago, and you won't find anything of this quality for 20 bucks at Target again ever. I wouldn't say even anytime soon. I would say ever. Not going to happen. I forget where this one came from. This might have been Duluth. I forget if it's... Yeah, this one came from Duluth. I've had it for about as long as I've had that hat, but I haven't worn it as much as that hat. So it's still in pretty good shape. And they don't, I don't think, offer these particular models anymore either, but generic kind of black, darker than I would usually wear with shorts like this. But for the purpose of we're only getting one belt, right, then it would be one or two of these to color coordinate, because again, we're doing blue right now, so a black belt would look fine with this, but a brown belt would also look okay with this to a lot of people's point of view, but it would look less nautical and more, I don't know, urban-ish, not really urban, I don't know, rustic, urban-ish, whatever that streetwear term might be. Again, same, you can get Birkenstocks in different colors, but mostly brown. But instead of the sneakers, like I said, some kind of boat shoe, this being, of course, a brand I said miserable, terrible things about in a previous video, but they will definitely match a pair of dark blue chinos very effectively. But again, in 2 months, I'm going to want the boots instead. Maybe not necessarily these exact boots. I just grabbed the first pair that was easy to bring in because I have bigger, heavier boots and lighter, more summery boots or whatever. But these are a pretty good indication of what boots might be, right? Do I need boots right this second? No, but... And then in skipping shirts for now, I guess, well, you know, I guess I'll come back to shirts. Okay, so right now I'm wearing a camp shirt, which something this busy might not be my first choice, but this one's actually pretty light, open weave while still being durable, so this one wouldn't be terrible. I would say most of the year I might want something about like this. Sometimes I might want something a little lighter weight. Winter, again, we're going to have a whole different thing. One of the things that I get a lot is like these bean sport shirts, whereas this is going to be a little bit tighter weave than this, more of a poplin. Also going to have long sleeves though, so I don't want long sleeves right now. But again, in another month and a half, this might be perfect. I was going to wear this spring and never got around to it. But this is one of the wrinkle-free ones, so they don't breathe as well. But in the colder months, you can put this under a sweater and you won't sweat too bad. But again, maybe more of a busy pattern than you might go to for your first shirt. If you were only getting one shirt or one style of shirt, then I might go with something more like a chambray, or I didn't grab them, but similar to that, but not as patterned, the Oxford cloth ones with the little stripes. So here you've got, this one's actually linen, which might not be my first. I would probably get cotton before I got linen, and I would probably get cotton flannel before I got wool shirts for winter, just because most of the time I don't need wool shirts because I live in a dry climate, not a wet climate. And same with the linen is okay. Sometimes it can be a little more scratchy, but I don't live in a very humid climate, so I don't necessarily need as much moisture wicking-ish. On the other hand, when we get into, instead of safari shirts, I grabbed the bean canvas one, which again is my go-to for 2 or 3 seasons a lot of the time. But here, I mean, it just collects sweat when you're hiking or whatever. You know, it gets a very wet kind of texture to it. But when I want skin coverage with something that I know isn't very see-through, where I know I'm going to get sunburned through the thing, I still will go with this, even though I know I'm going to be more wet. And of course, with that, I would more likely want to pair it with the tan version of the chinos or khakis or whatever you want to call them. Which again, as we get into more late summer, autumn, I want this more than I want dark blue. And I'm intentionally leaving out white because shows more stains, right? Makes a bolder statement, but doesn't fit into every existing situation or whatever, blah, 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 however you want to rationalize white. Okay, so what did we cover? We covered shirts, pants, belts, hats, high school. I mentioned, okay, sweaters. The guy, if you're in England or whatever, you wear sweaters more often, so I'd leave that off your list. I don't know. In high school, I would have had something more like this, but it would have been an acrylic. So again, that kind of prep school kind of look. Or contrary now, maybe like an Irish cable thing, although obviously, again, you're going to get less use out of this than that if you don't live in a cold area. Whereas this, you can wear more seasons, but of course, I always look forward to autumn, but autumn here lasts about a week and a half, so I have all this autumn stuff that kind of goes to waste. And then, of course, regardless of sweaters, I would want an A2 or a G1, some kind of version of a leather thing, more than in high school. I had the Levi's trucker jacket, and of course, they have no insulation whatsoever. Or you can get the lined flannel ones, or the woolly lined ones, which are much nicer than the one I had. The trucker ones with the fake wool is warmer than some of the leather ones, and reasonably durable if you're not going to. But in high school, I had the Levi's unlined jacket and the Army field jacket, which looks warmer than it is because it's supposed to have a button-in liner also, which none of us ever had because we just found them cheap, or your dad gave it to you or whatever the deal was, and I wore that over a sweater a lot. Again, not a sweater as warm as Mr. Cable here, but I survived. You know, and obviously an army jacket is an army jacket. It's not going to blend in with very much regular wardrobe stuff. These, of course, were the green ones, not the camo ones, which, again, camo being even more distinctive. So what are we at? We're at, well, 15 minutes. Oh, that's not too bad, I guess. Did I forget anything? If I lost my wardrobe, believe me, I'm trying to lose some of it. But some of it, like I said, we're in a holding pattern because we are just having heat waves after heat waves. You're all in the same boat. You know what I'm talking about. I don't have to go on and on. Yeah, so like I said, mesh versus felt and boat shoes and boots. Yeah, I think I covered. Was that? I don't know. I lost count if that was 7 or not. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7, something like that. Somebody will correct me if I'm wrong. And maybe cargo shorts can be 7 if I missed it. Because again, I'm not going to need cargo shorts every year in January, but I certainly am using them now. Okay, so if there's any questions, feel free to put them in the comments and we'll wrap this up for now.